China has done what many expected the regime to do: clamp down on protests. Barricades came up in multiple locations to stop people from protesting, and many were also detained. A blank white paper has emerged as one of the strongest anti-regime protests in China. Across many Chinese cities, protesters held up blank papers like this one, and even without a single message being written on it, everyone got it. China has extremely strict censors in place when it comes to dissent, even on social media. And the white paper protest became so widespread and popular that the hashtag white paper exercise was banned on Weibo, which is China's version of Twitter. You have probably seen many protest videos on your social media timelines. They are not just limited to one city, but are spread out across different cities, from Beijing to Shanghai in the east and Urumqi in the west. In Shanghai, protesters with plain white papers were heard shouting slogans against Chinese President Xi Jinping. Police used pepper sprays against 300-odd protesters, some of whom said, "Xi Jinping step down, Communist Party step down." Let's focus for a bit on Urumqi, that's located in the Xinjiang region. What happened here seems to be the latest trigger for the protests that you now see in China. A few days ago in Urumqi, 10 people lost their lives when a fire struck an apartment complex. The apartment was under partial lockdown due to China's strict zero-COVID policy. And that also meant that help and rescue efforts were hampered. Videos like these were circulated on Chinese social media platforms that showed that under the zero-COVID policy, houses were sometimes locked from the outside, literally trapping people inside their homes, only so China could put into place its zero-COVID policy. China has blamed forces with ulterior motives for linking a deadly fire in the western Xinjiang region to strict COVID measures. There is anger across China, and people are not just braving the cold to protest, they are doing it in the face of a regime that's known not to take kindly to any form of dissent. Students and universities have also joined the protests on campus. One of the protesters said, and I quote, "I'm here because I love my country, but I don't love my government. I want to be able to go out freely, but I can't. Our COVID-19 policy is a game and is not based on science or reality," unquote. Another one was about how the Chinese don't want lifelong rulers or emperors, the reference to President Xi Jinping, who's recently given himself a precedent-breaking third term and has centralized power. Even though China has been brutal when it comes to crushing dissent, there have been recent instances where people have protested, whether it was for the housing crisis, raising their voice against the zero-COVID policy, forced relocation, or alleged embezzlement by local government officials. The most recent protests that caught the attention of social media users were the violent protests in iPhone City, where people were unhappy with being locked up for months and demanded their pending dues and better food.